All right, we're on. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Sean and Sax Show. We're rolling. Are you good? Is your mic good?
It's good. It's right in front of my face.
Just an absolute, yeah. Sax looks super hot, as you guys can see that are watching, and I've just been working all morning, and I'm a sweaty mess, but whatever.
Very handsome.
So, we were talking about what we're going to talk about. And... sorry, it's just been one of those days. We're running. We always are. We were literally just talking about that. Like, our Mark and Mark Evans and Dee Evans were here, Dina Evans, and then they're like a really good friends. You guys got to follow them. Mark and Dee Evans on Instagram, follow them. And we were talking about how life is just crazy. Like, we're always running around. We're always doing stuff. We're going 100 miles an hour. But it's good, you know?
Yep.
Like, to be able to do a lot of fun stuff. Like, we always talk about it, and I think there's this really interesting thing of, like, you want to live this big life, and then all of a sudden you start doing all this crazy shit, and you're like, I'm tired. We should take a nap today. Like, let's not do big things. So
I'm the promoter of naps.
I am the participator in naps. Anyways, so what we wanted to talk about today, and what we were having a conversation about before, is investing in your relationship. And it's something that's come up, and something that we make a very big priority. But I think a lot of people, this is important to us because we realize how valuable the dividend is. Mm-hmm. I mean, from a real practical 101 standpoint, investing. You know, you put money into an investment because you want a return, plain and simple. And, you know, if you don't invest in the stock market, you're going to never get anything out of the stock market. If you don't invest in your body, you get nothing out of your body, right? Same thing in the relationships. Like, this is something that we both see a lot and have experienced ourselves, the value of real investing and really prioritizing your relationship as much as you would anything else. Mm-hmm. The same way that you look at your 401k, your IRA, your investments, your portfolio, like, we spend so much time looking at the money and the results and this and that and the other, and if you're not putting that same investment capital, the same relationship capital as you know, Mark always talks about, and you're not going to get a return. And I think it's super important for us to have real quality investments. Not necessarily the quantity per se. A lot of people are like, well, how do you find time for date night? Well, we create it. Mm-hmm. As much as we create time to go to the gym, time to go to work, time to do any of these other things, time to eat, we create the time to invest in our relationship. Right. And I know that it's important. I mean, it sounds so simple, and it is, but it's wild to me how few people truly invest in their relationships. The relationships that we see struggle, I mean, beyond the mundane life stuff, the relationships that you see that end up in divorce or that end up in really bad situations, a lot of that boils down to the fact that they just simply haven't invested in the relationship. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah.
And also, while investing, it's doing so without, because you kept saying return. I kept thinking about, you know, if your intention is to get a return, that's bad investing in a relationship to me. It's like, I just invest because I want my relationship to be a place of investment. I want it to be a happy, growing ground for goodness. Now, if I go in,
you're saying
right, but no, I'm saying
return?
consciously saying I'm doing it because I want a return. Now, I don't feel like that's going to get you very far, because that's almost like tit for tat, like you're keeping score. I think that just investing based on the fact that you want to have a solid, happy, giving relationship, and knowing that creates a return. So I'm totally agreeing with you. I was just thinking about how people are like, you know, they're like, well, I did this and I did this and I did this, and wanting, no, invest because it's what you want your relationship to be, not what you're looking to get back in return.
You want to quantify it, though. Like, you absolutely should quantify it. Like, you absolutely should look at it and say, is our relationship better? I mean, you have to look at those things, and mm-hmm. you have to look at when your relationship is down, right? When we were struggling 6 months ago, when we were dealing with our shit, and we stopped, and as we like pulled ourselves back and looked at it, said, all right, what's working, what's not working, right? Mm-hmm. Communication, assumptions, a lot of things that we weren't seeing, that we were blind to, they weren't working. But I absolutely think, and maybe this is just the man's mind versus the women's mind, I want to know like that there's a quantifiable return on my investments, right? Now, how do you do that with a relationship? The way that I do it is looking at it saying, is our relationship better than it was yesterday? And then that bodes the next question, well, what does it mean to be better, right? Are we more connected? Is our communication flowing better? Are we physically as connected? Is there friction in our communication and our goals and our setting and our planning and any of these other things? And I think that's really where like I invest because I do want a return. I mean, plain and simple. I want a great return with my money. I want a great return in my relationship. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what were you saying?
No, it's more of like an I versus we.
Yeah.
It's like, am I doing this for the I or am I doing this for the we? And that's, I totally am agreeing with you. I'm just more thinking like, what is the focus? Is the focus on I or is the focus on we?
Yeah. We invest because we want to win.
Correct.
Is that
Correct.
a better way of
saying
saying
because I just see a lot of couples that, well, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and they've not done this and they've not done this. And so in the investment, it's like, okay, you need to go in full-heartedly knowing that like you're investing for the we.
Right.
It's not for you to win. It's for we to win. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm just more of like, there's a little asterisk in there about that because I've seen that come up so much where people start focusing so much on the I of investing.
Yeah.
So for you,
it's a great point.
Yeah, for you, I know. Well, sometimes most of the time I have really great points. For you, what would be, because I'm sure people are wondering, what are good investments that say I do for you?
That you do for me? Mm-hmm. Well, how about let's talk about me. Less about you, more about me. How about
shocked.
That?
I'm shocked.
No, I want to use this example because this was yesterday. Okay? I'm going to give you an example, and then I'll answer your question because this is the top of mind, right?
Okay.
Yesterday, I'm not feeling very good. Sax is not feeling very good. We're both just like that. We're going really fast. We're working really hard, the whole thing.
We're a little under the weather.
We're a little under the weather. We got a lot of stuff going on with the companies and just different things, and it's just hectic times, right? And yesterday, you've been like the last couple of weeks, you've been very supportive, and obviously, passing of Neil and my friend, and it's just been a heavy couple of weeks, and you've been very supportive. And as I was coming home yesterday, I was like, I'm going to go just get some flowers, right? And no, even though I know that we're leaving for a couple of days and the flowers are going to die, it's still like I wanted to get the flowers. But as I was walking into the flower shop, to the grocery store, there's a nail place right next to it. And I went over into the nail place, and it was one of those little Asian nail places, and it was funny because like there's like 10 people in there getting their nails done, and it was super awkward because I walked in and like everybody stopped and like stared at me. I was like, hi. Like I don't want to get my nails done. I was like, do you guys sell nail polish? And the guy's like, no, but Sally Beauty Supply next door does. And so I went next door, and I thought to myself, like, I'm going to do something nice and something sweet. Like, what can I do? Because you're always talking about romance. How do I invest in my relationship for more romance, to provide more romance? Because the romance creates connection. And I'm not just talking about getting laid, but the reality is, like, you enjoy romance. You enjoy me being romantic and doing romantic things. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get some nail polish. Even though you go to the places and get your fucking nails done and you have all the things and they do it all fancy, whatever, I was like, I'm going to go get some nail polish and like we're just going to chill and you can have a glass of wine or whatever, and I'm going to paint your toenails. And that sounds really funny and really cheesy, but that's like very romantic shit. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I went into the little beauty supply. I was like, do you guys sell nail polish? And then he said, yeah. And so I went over. She's like, it's buy two, get one free. I was like, fantastic. I'll just buy all the colors in it, And so I bought this nail polish, and then I went next door, and I got flowers, and I got a little gift bag, and I put the nail polish in there, right?
Yes, it was so thoughtful.
That, to me, is, $15, right? That was an investment. I don't need to do that. Like, we'll still have date night. We'll still be connected. We can still have romance. We can still be in the bathtub. But to me, that's an investment. To me, I look at it, and, like, those are the little deposits that you make, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you're like, this is total dog shit and I can't stand this. But like, those are the little investments that I make on I don't want to say the regular, I don't know what the regular means, but I make regularly, and whether it's flowers or whether it's this or whether it's that, for our relationship, for you, for us, like to show that, hey, even though I'm balls deep in this thing, whatever, I love you, I appreciate you. And to me, those are the little things that I do to invest, right? A little night away, even if just like on date night. We just get a hotel room someplace. We go out to dinner. We do our thing. We get away. We, surprise you with it, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Those are the little things that I like to do, from an investment standpoint. Now, to answer your question, what do you do? Some of the simplest stuff, and this is what Sean Whalen loves, and I can't speak for every guy out there, but like the random pictures, the random videos, like during the day, the sexy shit. That's a huge investment. Like that, no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, I'll never tire of getting those. I'll never tire getting those, and I'll always appreciate them, right? Because then it opens up communication, it opens up connection, it opens up conversation, and it always ends up flirty and sexy. And and no matter how heavy the day is or whatever, like that's literally the top of mind, the first thing that comes to my mind, right? Mm-hmm. And little thoughtful things. I think participating in somebody else's love language is huge. One of my love languages is gifts. You just bringing home a cookie. I'm a cookie guy. I love fucking cookies. Mm-hmm. And you bringing home a swig cookie, I'm like, that fills the cup. It's a little teeny investment. It's $1.50 investment, right? It's a bottle of nail polish investment. These are investments. Mm-hmm. These are without question investments that ultimately, in my opinion, you do enough of that investing and your return isn't necessarily, well, I got this out of it. It's a deeper connection. Mm-hmm. It's a deeper relationship. It's a deeper trust. It's a deeper love. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I totally know. I love it. And also something that came to my mind is if your partner is investing in something and if you're the partner that's investing in something and it's not well received by the other. So we had this happen recently where I got dressed up in lingerie. I made dinner in lingerie, which is kind of a dangerous act to have that much skin exposed while cooking. But it's okay.
You probably shouldn't fry chicken while you're half naked.
And Sean was just having a not great day or 2 days or a couple days. And he came home and I'm in lingerie. I'm roasting beets, which he loves. I'm making these food items that he loves. And he came in and wanted nothing to do with that. Not like, I'm sure you wanted something to do with that, but you didn't want anything to do with that based on where your head was at, right, what you needed to get done. You were not receptive to that.
Balls deep, no pun intended, in 10 things that were very, very consuming me and that were like high priority, very urgent things.
So me in that place, I had one of two choices. I could either get super offended, I could make everything worse by reacting to this like quote unquote rejection, which it wasn't a rejection, and make assumptions, like go down the rabbit hole, or I could just continue making dinner in my lingerie,
which you did,
and it didn't really matter to me one way or another if it was received by him, knowing like I'm like, all right, whatever, and we just kept going on our merry way. A few days later, you cracked a joke about it with some of our friends. But that's a big thing, too, is just because we're investing in the relationship doesn't mean that investment's going to be seen or well received in any given moment. Right. We have to respect the fact that may not pay dividends today. That may pay dividends like a week later. Like Sean, just in the conversation of you sharing that with some of our friends, I realized then, because in the moment, because I know you well enough, but is that did matter to you, even though you really didn't show up for it. So you have to be very, just know that sometimes the person's going to be like, oh, that's cool, and just go on with something, but you still invest. Like, don't not love just because your love wasn't well received, because you never know what's going on with people.
Totally. And I think the idea of investing and the idea of return is hard for some people to wrap their head around with a relationship, because it's like, well, I did this and then I didn't get this, or I did this, like you were talking about keeping score. And I think a good way to look at it and a good way to talk about it is like, all of these things are like little seeds, right? You're planting these little seeds. And if you plant a little seed, you have two choices. You can just water it, nurture it, and it'll grow. Or 5 minutes after you plant it, you're like, it's not growing. And you try and dig the fucking thing up and you just kill it, right?
Yep.
It's the same reality. But there is, without question, a very viable and real dividend, in my opinion, right? And the dividend is I don't know that it's quantifiable by numbers or by some mathematical algorithm. It's like, are we better today? And I think that's a very personal, real question that if you get serious with yourself, you look at it like that did mean something to me. Like, you're hot as fuck and you came home and I was in a shitty mood and I had like literally pipes falling off the trailer out in the middle of the road and people texting me and calling me, and you were like ready to fucking throw down in the kitchen right there. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I got to go handle this shit. Right. But it was without question something that I did take note of, something that like did mean something to me. And obviously I want more of. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But I think that's something that it's really important to pay attention to is not necessarily quantifying the game per se. And I think I said that a little bit earlier about there being a return. It's understanding that you're not keeping score with this. This isn't, well, I did this, now you do this. And I've done this in relationships, and this is really bad to do is, well, I did this and I thought you were going to do this in return, or I did these 10 things and I didn't get anything in return, kind of a thing. That's just toxic. That's bad. Right. In my opinion, that's a very, very, very unhealthy relationship. But I know that by me getting, the nail polish, that there will be a cool little experience and a fun little moment that we get to have. And whether I completely fuck your nails up and you go see, the lady tomorrow at the nail place and get them redone, I don't really give a shit. But for that hour and a half, like, we'll have a quality experience, and it'll be a memory that we then have in the memory bank. And I'll have you in sexy lingerie cooking freaking food in the memory bank, kind of thing. And I think that's the real advantage to the investing, is understanding that the more investments, the more seeds you plant, if you will, like the higher probability you have of something growing. And I know a lot of relationships that have flat out said, like, we haven't had a date night in months. You know what I'm saying? And something as simple as that, I think something, especially for the men to pay attention to, and something that I look at, is understanding that if we're going to invest our money with fervency, with vigor, with purpose and intention, we're very intentional with our money. We're very intentional with what we buy, where we spend it, how we do it, the long-term gain, the short-term gain, where we're at, whatever. I think the thing to really pay attention to, and something that I've learned is as important, is the consciousness of the investment, is to be conscious of the investment, right? And this is something where on a daily priority list, we get up, we work out, we go to the gym, we do these certain things. Like, the investment is literally the investment into the relationship. What are you doing today that's a literal investment into it? How are you watering the seeds that you've either planted, or what seeds are you planting today to grow? Yeah. You know what I mean? And what I have found, and this is what I experienced in my own personal relationships, is when a relationship doesn't work out, my marriage didn't work out, I just didn't invest. I wasn't speaking life into the relationship. I wasn't purposely going out of my way to go buy nail polish or flowers or this or that. I was that one-dimensional, fuckface who went and got flowers because it was Valentine's Day or a birthday or this or that or the other. And those other moments, those other times, those other investments are really what pay big dividend in the long run, like you said, because it's a conscious thought. In my opinion, it reframes who you are and what you are in a relationship. The same energy that I would put into $100,000 going over here, making it grow, I'm going to put that same energy and that same studious opportunity into my relationship. You know what I mean? And
sorry.
Go ahead.
I love that you brought up conscious, because one of the things that's a huge investment for me, and I would imagine a lot of women are this way, is it's not necessarily tangible objects. Like, a few things that are huge investments for me are when I have asked something, like I have asked my family to not wear their shoes in the house. And this might sound so silly, but when I see that they take their shoes off and don't wear them upstairs or whatever, it makes me feel so good. And it has not that much to do with the actual shoes. It's the fact that I feel heard. I feel respected. I feel like my needs and my requests that I've communicated are being honored. And that's a massive investment. Another one that popped in my head is when I tell you, I need to sleep in. Because right now, I've been repairing my health, and part of what I need is, I'm just extra tired. And I'll tell you, I need to sleep in tomorrow, which means don't wake me up. We're not having sex in the morning. Like, please God, let me sleep in. We'll have to do that tomorrow. It's not every morning, but those mornings that you don't necessarily disturb me, you just like let me sleep, and then you get up and you do your morning routine, and I wake up and it's like, oh, I love like those. They don't even cost anything. It's just that I feel heard. And I think that this would go for most human beings is we want to feel heard. We want to feel seen. We want to feel honored. And so it's maybe just on top of doing the little gifts and the going on date night, it's really like, what is your partner hearing? Like if you have young children, maybe your wife needs to sleep in. Maybe you could say, hey, I'm going to get up with the kids. You get up and make the pancakes in the morning on Saturday or Sunday or whatever you have a morning opportunity to do so, and letting her sleep. Like that will pay dividends. That's huge investing in your marriage. You have,
I think it's Mark and my buddy Aaron talks about relationship capital. And it's very real. It's hard to wrap your head around this conversation in a lot of ways because we're not taught this. This isn't something that we're brought up understanding. When you hear the word investment, you think about money, you think about real estate, you think about assets, you think about your 401k, you think about a hard, tangible financial aspect. What we're not taught in a young age or really in any part of our influence growing up, whether it's school, whether it's family, is investing in other things. Investing is literally like taking time, energy, education, learning, understanding. Like our country is literally morbidly obese. We're not investing in our health, yet we're spending countless dollars on doctors and remedies to try and cure our ailments, when really what we could be doing is investing time now to have a healthy lifestyle, to not go through those ailments or a majority of those ailments kind of thing. It's the same thing in a relationship. You court each other, you get married, you get together, you're together, you're building this life together, and you stop investing. The way you treat your person after you're married or you're together is probably radically different than when you were first courting. Like you would get up in the middle of the night and drive over and leave flowers on the car or leave the state. I mean, how many times did I come by your house at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m, damn near getting shot by your fucking neighbors, to leave a note, on your door or your back deck or your car. Those are those little investments that you make that got you into a place of relationship. And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, well, it's this burden now that I have to go out to dinner with my wife or do date night, or we don't have time to do date night, or we have kids or whatever. At the end of the day, I mean, that's a terrible fucking excuse. It's just an excuse, because if you cared about your financial status as much as you did your relationship status, if all of a sudden the market took a shit and your money was like dissipating, or you wouldn't be like, well, it's just what it is, I just don't have time. You'd be in panic mode. You'd be calling your broker, you'd be selling, you'd be fire selling, you'd be doing whatever the fuck you could to salvage your dollars. Yet with a relationship, it's kind of like, well, it is what it is. It's just a very, very, very important reality to understand, that we have to reframe our brains to truly look at relationships as capital, the same way we would an actual dollar. And the more energy and knowledge and wisdom that we put into a relationship, getting to know you, getting to understand, getting to hear you. Like, this was part of our problem, 6 months ago, when we were dealing with some serious shit in our marriage, and we were just trying to figure it out. We didn't understand it. We couldn't see certain things. Excuse me. We couldn't see certain things. We couldn't hear certain things. And it broke down to us like truly not knowing how to communicate, not knowing how to like read the other person, hear the other person, speak to the other person, right? But we made the investment into people, into coaches, into learning and understanding how to better our relationship. That's an investment. I mean, we took money the same way and paid someone to teach us skills to better our relationship. The same way that I would pay a financial advisor or a broker to manage my money or teach me something, or pay a coach to teach me a marketing strategy or a sales strategy, we're taking our investments, our money, and investing it into tips and tools and strategies to help our relationship. And we're not taught that. That's not part of our normal conversation. It's just like, well, we're together, let's just love each other and serve each other and take care of each other. And
Disney really screwed us up.
Yeah, Disneyland relationship, and it's just all going to be hunky-dory, but investing in our relationships, and not just intimate. And I wanted to talk about this too, not just intimate, but investing into family, investing into your children. I make it a very, very, very high priority, and I have since my kids were little, to invest in my children. I mean, I brought my daughter flowers to school from elementary school all the way through high school, all the time. Like multiple times every single school year, I would bring flowers to her school. Like, you know, she expected that. That became a norm, right? Doing guys' night with my boys. It's not you have to invest in super expensive things or this, that, or the other, but it might just be hanging out. It might be going and doing something. But that is without question an investment into a relationship. And I think if you've got a business and you have clients, you want to invest in them, not just try and get something from them, but give them, feed them, nurture the relationship with, you know, we probably aren't the best example of this, because the house that we were in before, when we first got married, like, we only liked a couple of our neighbors. And truth be told, we didn't really invest very much into some of our neighbors because they were just assholes, but that's on me. I own that. But like our neighbors now, like, we invest time. We go over and talk to them, and I make it a point to go over and pet their dogs and have conversations with their kids or out in the yard, and, you know, chopping it up and being a good neighbor and really investing in that relationship, because these are my neighbors. These are people that I live next to. These are people we live next to. We get to have, you know, this, however long we live there, relationship with. But I wanted to make that point that, like, investing, if you don't invest, you will get no return. And it doesn't necessarily mean money. You won't have relationship capital. You won't have your health capital. You won't have your mental capital. If you're not investing in your brain and new skills and new lessons and new everything, don't be surprised why your brain and your mindset is junk. It's just garbage. You don't be surprised why your life is shit, because you're not investing in your brain. You know what I mean? Don't be surprised that your relationship is shit when you've invested nothing into it.
Yeah. I had an aha with investing with my youngest son this weekend. Is, you know, he's the youngest, and he's kind of used to being an only child to some degree up until recent years, because his brother's so much older than him. And I've been noticing, like, he's become a little more quiet than normal. And I was laying with him the other night, and I just thought, oh my gosh, he just needs, like, he needs this. This is how he used to have it. He used to have me to, like, literally lay with him till he'd fall asleep when he was little. And I found myself, like, I got really emotional just being, like, really present with Relic, like really present, to the point where he ended up falling asleep. But I just thought, wow, my life is his life, involuntarily, because he's just along for the ride, has become so much more full of things and such a higher speed. And he's a really chill, sensitive, like, just
very
really
emotional,
introverted, but really, like, good, just solid human. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to invest more in this with him, because now, because when I was a single mom, he got all of it. I didn't have a partner to snuggle with until this, and it really moved me. And I hadn't shared this with you before, but I ended up falling asleep next to him, and I woke up, and I just, like, I'm kind of getting emotional now, is like, I have enough love to give to everyone. Like, I don't need to ever ration that, but I need to. It's my job as a mother and a wife to be very present and conscious of that I'm giving love to everyone, you know. And his Relic won't be a squeaky wheel. He won't be the kid that's like, hey. But I knowing him, that was really important. And so, yeah, investing in relationships. And I even took some time and sent, like, some really nice messages to Will recently. And Will, like, it's, you know, he's 16.
Thanks.
He's like, thanks, whatever. No, he actually said, I love you too, and I appreciate you. Like, you know, but it was also just in text message, and that meant a lot. And, you know, I've really been working on these investments, because I think a lot of us we either get so fixated on raising children that we lose touch with our spouse in investing, or we get so fixated on building a life with our partner that the kids maybe so more so in blended families, kind of, they don't get that same, not attention, but just investment. And so to just be very conscious of that. And I've had some big epiphanies with that lately.
So I want to mention something that you said, that like one of my favorite quotes is you value what you invest in, and you invest in what you value.
Yeah.
And one of the things that like you're talking about is it's not hard to do.
No.
And this is something that we talk about often. Like I try and send appreciation text messages to people every day. And normally I do it in the morning. So like, let's talk tips and strategies, like some of the things that we do. Like if I wake up in the morning, like my mind is always moving. God's always speaking to me and putting things in my mind and putting people in my face and seeing things, right? And it's up to me to act on them or take action on them. And without fail, like almost every single morning when I'm either having my coffee or reading or studying or whatever, people will pop into my mind. And it might be somebody that I'm close to. It might be somebody I haven't spoken to in months or even years. And I know, and again, I'm a very, very much a man of faith. I've been very open about my connection with God and deity. I know that that's God talking to me. This is, a lot of people ask, how do you talk to God, or how do you connection with God? It's literally like realizing that a lot of the stuff happening right now is being shown to you, given to you for that purpose, right? One of the things that I'm very passionate and adamant about is sending appreciation text messages. And, another quote, what you appreciate appreciates. And if you think about it for a second, like if you want to become a person who is more connected to other human beings, show appreciation for them. Like sending a message to an employee or a partner or a lover or a mother or a father or a brother or a sister, even if there's beef or drama or friction, even more the reason to do it. You send a message and just say, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for showing me what you've shown me. Thank you for teaching me what you teach me. And that's it. You're not opening up, some big, huge, dramatic door and all this other stuff. But one of the things that is one of the easiest things for us to do, and we have these smartphones now that literally talk to freaking spaceships and shit like that, you can literally pick up your phone and just show appreciation for people. Just literally like invest in not just that relationship, but investing in yourself to become a person of appreciation.
Yep. Like
this is something that I do every single day. It's reaching out to people, showing appreciation, sending text messages.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easy to do that we miss it. Date nights are so easy to do. I mean, look, we're busy. I'm running multiple companies. We have 5 kids. Like a lot of people think that we just don't do anything all day long, but the truth of the matter is it doesn't matter if you're a blue-collar guy, a white-collar guy. It doesn't matter if you have 1 or 5 or 8 kids. If you value your relationship, you will invest in it, period. End of story. You will create the reality that will allow you to have date night. You will create it. Not, it's a tough time right now, we're not going to do it. If you value your relationship, if you value relationship with your family, if you value relationship with your kids, I mean, we have every reason, if you will, or excuse. Like, it's always funny to me when people are like, we have 2 kids. How do you do date night? I'm like, you get a fucking babysitter. Well, we don't know any babysitters. Well, great. There's an app for that. There's neighbors for that. There's friends for that. Create the reality. If you value the investment, if you value your relationship, you will invest in it. If all of a sudden you put your money into something and you just don't ever pay attention to it, don't ever look at it, don't do anything with it, don't monitor it, and all of a sudden it disappears, and 10 years from now you're like, oh shit, where did that go? You weren't paying attention. Yeah. You weren't investing. Yeah. It's really, and I wanted to make that point, it's really not that difficult to invest in relationships. Right. It could be literally as something as a text message. It could literally be as something as a small handwritten note, a note on the mirror. Like we've talked about this. Like you go get a pack of sticky notes. You can literally sit down and fill out a stack of sticky notes and put them all over the place. Stick them all over the place. When we were moving, I found multiple notes that I left for you and multiple notes that you left for me that were just hidden in little random places that I hadn't seen yet. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to make the point that, like, you will invest in the things that you value. And if you value something, if you value relationships, if you value your marriage, if you value your children, which I know everybody listening to this does.
Of course.
You might have struggles.
Course.
You might hate your spouse right now. You might want to throw them off the fucking back deck, and that's totally fine. That's not what we're talking about. But the reality is, if you value that relationship, you must invest in it. Mm-hmm. And it will take conscious investing. It will take conscious action. And it doesn't have to be a trip to Cabo every weekend. It can literally be something like sharing a text message of appreciation.
I'm going to give an example. So when we were in our struggle, something that kept reoccurring that you were sharing with our coach was that you felt like I didn't care. I didn't give a shit. You know, I wasn't trying to help, things of that nature. So the coach and I sat down and we're like, okay, well, if this is a reoccurring thing, how do we amend, like, how do we fix this? And I said, well, what if I beat him to the punch? What if I'm proactively asking him, how can I help you today? What can I do for you? And that way, the reaction, it's literally like you guys could sit down with a notepad and say, what is my partner continuing to tell me? Like, whatever it is, okay? So this was one example of Sean's. I'm like, okay, so in the mornings, mornings are always buzzy and kind of chaotic in our house, in a good way. Sometimes, most of the time in a good way. But that was a thing. And so I thought, okay, well, and in the morning now, I'm going to get up, I'm going to make his coffee, I'm going to take care of the kids, I'm going to get them off to school. And when I leave to take the kids to school, or when you take off for the day, I'm going to send you a message and I'm going to say, hey, I love you. I hope you have an awesome day. What can I do to help you today? How can I help you today? And I guarantee if you go back through your messages, 99% of the time you have nothing to say. But it's the mere fact that I'm lending my support and offering that I'm here, like, and I mean it, like, what can I do to support you today? How can I help you? What can I do? We don't really fight about that anymore. It's pretty rare that you even bring that up. And it's because I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to wait for my husband to have a big reaction. If this means something to him, then I'm going to do it proactively. And this is where the conscious part comes in, is everybody has probably something that their partner is just constantly whatever they're frustrated about. Take note of that and become proactive. And that to me is like, we don't really have those big blow ups. I mean, once in a while we will, about like maybe something more specific to that. But, like, that's not a morning issue anymore. That's not an issue of where I don't think at least you're not expressing the frustration that you don't feel like I am not helping or doing or whatever on a regular basis. And so it's being very conscious of like, okay, if that's what their need is, cool, there.
Well, that's an investment.
Exactly.
Like
That's
that's an investment
without
question. Is you invested in, hey, how do I remedy this, bridge this gap, solve this problem, whatever it is?
Yeah.
How do I hire somebody to help me find a solution for this?
But that text message costs me nothing. It takes me 5 seconds. Now I do it just on the regular. Mm-hmm. I'm proactive. Cool. Like, that's easy. Yeah. That's easy. But I had to become conscious of a pattern of something happening. And I'm like, all right. Then I'm just going to be, I don't want to say beat at the punch because that sounds manipulative, but I'm going to be, but I am going to be proactive around something. If your wife's complaining that you leave toothpaste in the sink every freaking day, like, train yourself to become conscious. Like, that bugs her. It's not a big deal to me. I'm oblivious to it. It's why I don't care that there's toothpaste in the sink.
Toothpaste in the sink.
Neither of us do this. I don't know why it even came to me, but this is a thing, because I've heard it. It's like, just make it a point, and that will pay dividends, just because she's going to feel like heard, seen, supported, all these things. Yeah.
One final thought on this, unless you have something else to add.
You got it.
And I'm coming again to this conversation and this from the man brain, the male brain, the practical, analytical brain. I'm very practical, babe. Very practical.
Continue.
Why is that funny? I'm very practical. Whatever. Anyways, that'll be the next podcast. Knowing that a lot of people think there's a lot of my life that I thought I was investing and I wasn't. that I thought I was doing something and I wasn't, right? Something to legitimately look at. Again, this is for the men, and ladies, you can take it if you want, but look at your relationship from a true monetary standpoint of investment. Like, what are you legitimately investing into your relationship? How much money per month do you spend on your relationship? And I'm not talking about your mortgage and your house and your insurance and this and that and the other. Like, what tools, systems, structures are you purposely investing in? What coaches do you have that you're physically investing in, monetarily investing in? I promise you, man, if you don't put money into an investment account, a literal investment account for your quote unquote retirement, I'm just going to use basic level shit here, you will have nothing when you retire. There won't just magically be hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in an investment account unless you physically put money in there. Unless you physically are investing in something. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of times we, men, me, I've done this. We think we're investing in something. We think we're in a relationship. We think we're doing these things and we're not. And that boils down to a communication thing and this and that and the other. But if you want to like know whether you're practically doing it from a very, again, basic, like the mammal brain that we have, literally look at what you've spent in the last 30 days, money-wise, on your relationship. Date nights, coaches, systems, seminars, places, the trips that you've been on. These are all investments. These are all investments. And I'm not talking about the only way to say that you're winning in this is that you have a fuck ton of money. Not at all. Like you can go buy a fucking book and read a book together for $8 on Amazon. If you're not spending any money on your relationship, you're fucking failing. You're not investing in it. Period. End of story. And a lot of people are going to get rubbed that the wrong way and go, it's not about money, Sean. And it is. It fucking is. Because the reality is, to get a coach, you're going to have to fucking invest in a coach. To get a therapist, to get your relationship really good, for us to fix a lot of the problems that we were having, we had to hire people. Like that's a physical fucking investment. I was looking at it going, all right, we spent $250, I think it was like per time, or it was like $200 an hour for this coach that we hired. And he was
a lot cheaper than a divorce.
He gave us a lot of the tools that we now use to have the relationship that we have. Absolutely. We have physically both bought books and audiobooks and read them together and listened to them together. We have taken the trips. Read
The Brain on Love.
The Brain on Love is a great one. But I say this simply because a lot of times we men look at it and say, well, I'm investing, or I sent a text message, or I did this, or I did that. There is without question a monetary experience that you can have in looking at it saying, shit, I didn't buy my wife any flowers last month. Just in the last 30 days, I didn't do anything like that. I didn't go get a thing of nail polish. I didn't get any flowers. I didn't bring home her favorite dessert or her favorite ice cream or this or that. And that's a very real, like when we're ones and twos, X's and O's, practical, give me the baseline, give me the top and bottom line. When we're investment-based minded, you can really look at it and say, shit, I didn't invest any money. We didn't go do one overnighter. Like, it's so inexpensive to go on a date night and just book a hotel room someplace and go be fun and go be flirty and go have sex and just shake it up a little bit, create a different environment for your relationship. That pays dividends. Like we've done that going up to Sundance. I mean, how many times where they're great fucking experiences. They're memorable experiences. You know what I mean? But I want to say that simply because a lot of my life I thought that I was investing in my relationship, and I wasn't. And a real simple way for us men to look at it is to sit down and say, what have I, and this is not your everyday to day shit. It's not her car payment. It's not her money that she spends on getting her nails or anything. What dollar amount have you purposely and intentionally invested into your relationship, into her, into us, to deepen our relationship, to more like foundationally base our connection? What have you spent?
That might be a good way to just entice people to start doing that, is give yourself a budget. Say, I want to spend at least $5, even if it's $50 a month, $5, $25 a month. Yeah.
One thing in nail polish.
Spend it. Like, make it a point to spend that on your partner in a way that's investing.
That's exactly my point.
that'll create good.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Is if we're going to allocate money into this, and we're going to allocate money into that, and we're going to put money into car insurance, and we're going to put money into our retirement, we're going to put money in our 401k or our Bitcoin or our stocks or our bonds or our mutual funds. What dollar amount are you purposely investing every single month into your relationship? Yep. It's a really good quantifiable reality to look at it and go, well, the last 30 days, shit, I didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. Well, this didn't really count because we were already going, you know what I mean? It's got to be intention. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about the money game, the money conversation, is when you're holding $50, you have to be very intentional with what you're going to do with it. You don't just throw it on the ground and walk away. I'm going to put this somewhere. I'm going to buy something with this. I'm going to give this to somebody. I'm going to do something with this money. And when you can connect that dollar to your relationship and say, I spent this, it's not, and again, I don't want to gamify this where, hey, I spent $50 on you last month. What did you spend on me? It's not, don't go down that path.
No, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think it's a good start. It's a good way of structuring if you're struggling in this area.
Well, it's a good way to keep us guys honest. It's a really good way to keep us honest because we will say, yeah, I invested. Yeah, I freaking smacked her ass when I was walking through the kitchen that one time. Or yeah, I know maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But it's a good way to keep us honest. What did you invest? And again, hear me. It doesn't mean that because you invest more money that your relationship is going to be better. What I'm trying to get to is understanding if we even are investing. And when you can look at it and say, yes, I spent $5 or I spent $500,000. The dollar amount doesn't matter. It's did you keep yourself honest, and can you say that you physically invested money into your relationship for growth, for experiences, for connection, for anything? Did you go get a fucking $50 freaking vibrator? Like, what is it, right? I mean, what did you spend your money on?
I don't want the last word, but I'm kind of taking the last word on this one. Maybe not. Is also like, God, just stop and kiss your woman. Like, just stop and like kiss your woman. I don't know a woman in the world that I don't know them. They might exist that does not just want you to stop everything, stop the world, and just hold her face and just freaking make out with her. Like, I don't know. That just pops in my head. So apparently you need to make out with me sometime soon.
Deal. Put that lingerie on that you had the other day and I'll kiss you.
No. That is not how it works.
I'm investing. If I'm going to invest in kissing, I want some sexy lingerie.
Are we going tit for tat already on this?
I'm keeping score. Where's my iPad? I need to write this shit down.
Okay, start the whole podcast over.
Just kidding. Yes. And that is something that I hear you say and that I continue to work on and get better at because I'm not a random kisser guy. I'm like a kiss you when I'm leaving.
I just love full body kissing. Sensual involvement, connection.
You just basically love when I like throw your ass down and
I just like to be totally loved.
Yes.
Cherished and adored. That's all.
Yes.
Is that too much?
All right, guys. Invest in your relationship. You value what you invest in. You invest in what you value. We're obviously getting better at it and working at it, and it's something that's important to us.
Yeah. We are not professionals. We are just very much here to share our journey with you, and we're grateful to do so.
And what works and what doesn't work.
We know a lot about both.
Yes.
And we're learning more and more all the time.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. If you know somebody that needs to hear this, please share it. Please like, please comment. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, ciao.
Yes. Bye.